Hello everybody, I hope you're all well. This canvas so far I've put a really thin base coat down of some white, and I think it was just an Artist Loft mixture. And then that little strip of white I think has some Amsterdam white and some other things in it. Uh, my paints are all pre-mixed and they're all been sitting a while, and I don't label, I just kind of use. I don't worry about too much about which paints I'm using and what was in them. This is a turquoise I'm putting down, and the other one was a custom mixed, sort of a brown that I mixed in some golds with and came out with a custom color. And this is a vermilion orange, I believe. And this one is, might be a burnt orange, um, or maybe a burnt sienna. I don't really get specific on colors because a lot of times I add and mix other things into them. Um, and I end up with custom mixes. My little light blue there, I just dumped all over my table. So I picked it up with my palette knife, and that's why I'm scooping it on that way. I didn't want to waste it. So I'm just thinking of color combos that I like together, and I'm trying to just fiddle around tonight and basically just have some fun and relaxation. And there's some more turquoise going on top. And yeah, I just kind of pop down a bunch of different colors and then decide what I feel like doing from there. Nothing really in mind. As you know, I like to paint on my pours. So I kind of, when I'm doing them, I look to sort of shape them into something that I'm seeing along the way, and knowing that, oh, I like what this is looking like. I'll leave it dry and kind of paint this on it later. That's what I try to get to when I'm doing the initial pour. So sometimes that works, and sometimes it totally changes to something completely different. So I'm just going to start doing some palette knife swiping just to get some shapes in, and move some of that paint around and off the canvas because it gets pretty deep and pretty thick here. So now all I'm doing is playing around and trying to bring out some of the colors. And I'm not really much for the whole curly Q sort of things like that, but sometimes you just kind of have to in order to um, dig out some of the color that's under the white. It's not really my thing though. I just prefer to paint that kind of stuff on in whatever I need once the painting's dry. So doing this kind of stuff is okay for me, but it I don't know, something about doing it takes it away from the natural way the paint was sitting, and then you get sort of a hard line sometimes. So um, but I just like to keep playing around with it and see what I can get as far as shapes and what it's kind of reminding me of. Um, Cells and things like that are not always my goal. They look kind of nice in certain places, but it's not something I want my whole painting to be full of. I don't pour paint in order to get cells. I do it in order to get um, kind of a nice unified um, colorful background for a painting later. That way, it's just a way to get a nice background for a painting instead of having to paint it like by hand and brushes. It dries nice and smooth, no brush marks, and you can get so many cool effects that way. So I'll just let you watch. That's all I'm doing here with this one tonight. It's just playing around, and we'll see what I'm able to do with it in another video maybe. Um, Once I have let it dry fully. So as I go along here, I'm just adding and trying to bring out some areas of color. Um, and then when I get things like right there, what I'm doing in my head, I'm already thinking, yeah, I'll just probably paint, you know, when it's dry, I'll paint it out later and figure out how to cover up and get rid of things I don't like. So I worry about that once the painting is dry. So I'm just going to keep on going here and bringing out some of the colors that are getting buried underneath there. Um, it was a little. I probably shouldn't have poured that extra little strip of white because it ended up getting a little too thick. But my base coat was actually quite thin. But I'll just keep working at it and trying to push out some of the paint because I don't want a bunch of little air bubbles and cracks. I actually don't mind so much because I can work with them, and um, I'm a big fan of textured paintings. So a lot of times I'll add crackle paste and things to my paintings. Anyway, I will just let you watch along as I make a mess and have some fun. I would just like to mention that doing this, so take a canvas, throw some colors down onto it, and practice with a palette knife or paper towel or whatever have you, little bits of paper towels. Move the paper towel pieces, drag them around, turn them, practice and experiment with the paints and things and see what will happen if you do this or if you do that. For new people, like I feel so bad. They seem to think I'm going to buy these paints and I'm going to follow all these recipes and I'm going to throw my paints down on the canvas and make a pour painting and walk away, 15 minutes later and I've made a painting. And if that's the case, then great, that's fine. But do not be afraid to keep working on your painting. Experiment. If you see that it looks great and you couldn't bear to make another thing happen to it or ruin it in your eyes, by all means walk away or whatever you need to do. But at the same time, don't have fear that blocks you from experimenting and seeing what your paints will do or what will happen if you used your palette knife here or there. that's all experimentation, and you'll learn great things from doing that. This painting already, I mean, I don't like it, but it's great for experimenting and playing and releasing your creative energies. And um, I don't know where this painting will go yet in the end. I'm gonna just keep swiping and adding colors and playing around, and that's a really great thing to do. It just you're allowing yourself the freedom to experiment and play around and see what happens. And that's what creating art should be all about. And not having that fear of, oh, I'm going to put my colored paints down and some are running off. Oh my goodness, I'm wasting some paints and I have to stop right here. Um, for me, I need a painting session where I'm spending some time painting. I'm not dumping my colors on my canvas and walking away in a few minutes. I don't feel like I've done anything. Um, Sometimes, I mean, I need to do that because I like to paint on my paintings, so I need to let it dry, of course. And sometimes I just needed to get that color down and then let it dry. But at the same time, if that's all you need to have your creative outlet, you know, and make yourself, that happy feeling that you get from doing your painting, then that's great. But at the same time, I'm trying to say that it's not always a good thing to be fearful, to be wanting to go in and play around some more. If it ends up ruined, it's just paint and it's just a canvas. And I mean, this could, I mean, I could not like this and I could scrape it all right down to the canvas right now if I wanted to. Um, but at the same time, right now, I know there's lots of paints and colors deep down underneath, so I'm just gonna keep playing and seeing what I can do and what comes out of it. It may be different for me because I do paint on my paintings after, but in general, to get better at things and see how things work and react together, you do have to experiment and play around a lot and just get rid of that fear of, um, you know, oh no, it's not going to look like this again if I do this. Or, I mean, I can't tell you how many paintings I've done that the pours themselves were gorgeous. But to me, um, that can be done again. I mean, the colors and the way they move around on the canvas is to me what makes that beauty. I mean, I really didn't do anything except pour the colors down. So if you see something that's beautiful, I always think, well, I could do that again because, I mean, maybe not exactly the same, but there's always another pour that you're going to just love. There's always going to be another one. So take pictures. Take really good pictures and know that you can maybe digitally have fun with them. But don't be afraid to not let every painting that you pour dry the way you've poured it because you don't have to. I mean, be daring and willing to experiment and see what more you can do with your paintings or with your pour. And that's not to criticize anybody that wants to, do the flip cup, pour it out, tilt it, and then let it dry. I mean, they're beautiful. They look beautiful. But if you want to learn more about, holding your palette knives or swiping, you do have to experiment and play around with your paints and not be worried about, well, it might not look so great. You can always re-pour over a dried painting another day, or if you want, when it's wet, you could scrape it right off. Scrape it off onto some plastic or something that you can easily scoop up and pour it into a bucket and mix it all up to a gray color that you can use as a base coat another day. Those are my tips. Just don't have fear, be happy, and have fun. That's what painting's all about. Experiment with your colors and see what they do. Although this video here shows the colors a lot brighter. Um, the lighting that I had going on for the video, it was hard to see the colors that were under there. It looked pretty anemic. So here's where I've left it for at this point, and I'm going to be honest with you, I came back a little later on and thought, I'm gonna try playing around some more, and I have totally changed how this looks right now, and so it's no longer, and I actually did some balloon rolling to get some effects on the sides, and I will let it dry and see if I can create something from there. Thanks for watching.